Hello, and welcome to Dugout Debrief. I'm your host, Chris DeLuca. This is Boom Broadcasting's one, first, and only baseball-centric podcast, and we are back once again. We're a little over a quarter of the way into the MLB season here in 2025, so I figured I'd be talking about teams that are exceeding expectations. Next week, I'll be talking about the more disappointing teams. I want to give another week for some of these teams to turn around, predominantly the Orioles and the Brewers, before I really start talking about them. We'll be talking about the Orioles a little bit here, but mainly we'll be talking about teams exceeding expectations. And there's some interesting teams there. So, with that being said, we'll get into the news of the week. And biggest piece of news over the past week is Brandon Hyde is out in Baltimore. The Orioles fire their manager. He's the third manager fired this year, Derek Shelton and Bud Black. We already talked about in previous shows and previous reels. Here in Dugout Debrief, 15-30 start, really rough start for Baltimore. He was the 2023 Manager of the Year, and he's had a winning record since 2022, 200 win seasons. I think it's too soon, if you ask me. I don't think he was necessarily the problem. I think the fact that the upper management just did not go to go after any pitching really at all. I mean, obviously Charlie Morton, for example, has been statistically the worst pitcher in 2025. They really didn't make an effort to sign anyone. They didn't re-sign Corbin Burns. They didn't go for really anyone at all until it was too late. So pitching was a serious problem. Just general performance, a lot of people having down years, a lot of people taking step backs. Cedric Mullins, Adley Rutschman, all taking minor step backs. But the 15-30, that was bad. That was a lot worse than everyone expected. I'm still giving them another little bit to turn it around. I don't know if they will. Anything's possible. I mean, there are teams that are a lot worse at this point that still made the playoffs. But we'll talk about the Orioles next week. But Brandon Hyde is out in Baltimore. That's our main headliner here. Our secondary headliner is Jose Alvarado is suspended for 80 games for PED use. This is big because it means he will miss the postseason this year. And the Phillies are hungry for relief pitching already. They lose arguably their second best relief arm or first best relief arm, number one, whatever you want to say. 2.70 ERA. He already had 7 saves. He was kind of taking that relief role from Jordan Romero, who's really struggled this year, not been worth the money and the effort put in for the Phillies. Matt Strahm is the only other solid reliever in this bullpen. He has a 2.89 ERA. Like I said, Romero is struggling with a 7.27 ERA. So Alvarado is picking up a lot of that slack. Now that he's gone for the foreseeable future, the Phillies have to consider what they're going to do. They're going to be looking for a new closer, in my opinion. And I think they can go one of, I'll say 3 ways here. The more landmark one is they could try and trade for Mason Miller. The A's could get a huge pull for a second-year relief pitcher, second-year closer, elite closer. And it really wouldn't surprise me if the Phillies and Dave Dombrowski go and throw a large portion of their farm system out for Mason Miller. Even though he's had a step back this year, he's still throwing 105 miles an hour, 103 to 105 miles an hour out of the bullpen. He's an intimidating arm. I think he would fit really well in Philadelphia. And the thing is with the A's is the A's are trying to compete in Las Vegas. They're not trying to compete in Sacramento. Even though they have a lot of guys who are having really, really good years, players who are exceeding expectations. I think that's something that I'll probably talk about in another show down the line. Guys like Tyler Soderstrom, Brett Rooker, Jacob Wilson, who has been fantastic this year, potential AL Rookie of the Year candidate. But still, you're trying to compete later on, so it wouldn't surprise me if they go for more prospects, better development, and try and go for Mason Miller. Emilio Pagan is 34 and having a great year. He has 12 saves already, 3.52 ERA, and he's an unrestricted free agent next year. And again, I'm more going for teams that are not, I don't think are going to compete this year, but at least close to competing. Like the A's, I'd say are sort of kind of close, not really, but kind of. Same thing with the Reds. I think Emilio Pagan would be a good pickup for them. They could send a little bit less of a haul for him due to his age. He's having a really good year, though. And then finally, Kyle Finnegan of the Washington Nationals, 2.70 ERA, unrestricted as well. Again, teams that are better than expected, but I'm still not competing by any facet. So I think that Miller, Pagan, Finnegan would all be great moves for the Phillies to go. I mean, how willingly are the Nationals going to trade within their own division? That's a question for another day. So moving on, Dodgers DFA, two long-term players. Dodgers DFA, Clayton Kershaw's personal catcher, so to speak, right before he comes back, which was really sad. They DFA Austin Barnes. He did struggle offensively for a long time. That was obviously a frustration, but he was a great locker room guy who's there for a long time. I don't think Austin Barnes will be out of the game for very long. A lot of people are going to want his veteran presence. He's a great defensive catcher, and he really gets along with veteran pitchers, clearly. It wouldn't surprise me if a team kind of in the middle tries to go for him. A team like maybe the Minnesota Twins. I mean, he's going to be a backup role. Even the New York Yankees or San Francisco, just someone where he could be in a back role. Even Baltimore, be behind Adley Rutschman. That wouldn't even be the worst possible outcome either, especially with how their pitchers are really struggling. But yeah, the Dodgers DFA Austin Barnes. They call up Dalton Rushing, who got his first hit not too long after he started, I think, in his second game. And Dodgers also DFA long-term utility man Chris Taylor, one-time All-Star, 2017 NLCS MVP. The UVA utility man batted 200 this year and didn't get much playing time. I mean, that was more just because the lineup in front of him was really good. And a lot of times they're using utility men in the infield. They're going for Miguel Rojas, who's having a much better year overall. They activate Tommy Edman. He was on the IL. They just activated him. He played last night. And yeah, that leaves Kike Hernandez and Clayton Kershaw, the only two players from the NLCS winning or pennant team from 2017. So Chris Taylor, Austin Barnes, both DFA'd. I could see them both getting signed somewhere else, especially Austin Barnes, just because a good defensive catcher with good leadership is hard to find in this game. So Chris Taylor as well, utility guy. Anyone, I mean, I think 29 other teams could use Chris Taylor. I think 29 other teams could use Austin Barnes. I digress. We have some retirement news. MLB veteran Tony Kemp retires after 8 seasons at the age of 33. Kemp played for the A's, Cubs, Astros, and Orioles. And happy retirement to Tony Kemp. I mean, he played pretty solid for quite a while. I remember when he came up for Houston. I remember he was part of some of those the last playoff A's teams. He was one of the last parts of those playoff A's teams, and he finished up in Baltimore. He played a little bit this year, but he announced his retirement earlier this week. Eddie Rosario, another former NLCS MVP, in 2021 with Atlanta. He signs with the Milwaukee Brewers on a minor league deal. And Kenta Maeda, who finished second in Cy Young voting in 2020 with a 2.70 ERA, he signs a minor league deal with the Chicago Cubs. So that's it for our news this week, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the major points to hit on. I mean, of course, the two headliners being Brandon Hyde out in Baltimore and Jose Alvarado suspended for 80 games pretty much for the rest of the year. We probably won't see him play the rest of this year. Won't see him maybe even next year. Who knows? It's really hard to say with these PD suspensions. I mean, he'll be back, but will he be back in the MLB? Will he still be on the Phillies? Will he still play at the same level? It's a question we'll be able to answer later on. With that being said, it's time for our teams that are exceeding expectations, and we have a decent list here. We're going to start with the team that is the definition of exceeding expectations. That is the Detroit Tigers. Javier Baez is back with a 32-17 record. They're doing well within their own division at 8-2, including a series win against Minnesota, who's been surging this year after a rough start. They have a key series with the Guardians this weekend, and they are seeing the Twins at the end of June. And the Detroit Tigers have just been really good this year, a team that I was hoping would be able to repeat their 2024 success, and they have been able to. AJ Hitch has really managed to develop some of these players into really, really I mean, not even necessarily elite, but more just all playing at a level that can make a team elite. Um, Spencer Torkelson with a 1.5 WAR. Gleyber Torres turning everything around with a .8 this year. Riley Green finally showing what he can be as a player. And Zach McKinstry with a 1.6 WAR. So you really do have a lot of just players who are good, not necessarily elite, but they're playing at a good level together. And that is the most important thing to do. Moving on, we have the Seattle Mariners, who are also off to a pretty solid start at 27-20. Cal Raleigh is tied for the AL lead in home runs with 17. Randy Arozarena is finally turning it around. And J Rod and JP Crawford having bounce back years, finally showing up to their expectations. The pitching rotation, as I said, was a top five one that's been showing as a top five one with Brian Wu, Luis Castillo, and Logan Gilbert remaining a top five rotation in baseball. The middle relief is a little bit suspect, but these starters are taking games deep, which is really important. Jesse Hahn is still playing baseball. I kind of forgot about that. Just on a whole side note, starting in 2024 with San Diego, he played with Oakland and had an okay year in 2015, 6-6 record, 3.35 ERA, but he hasn't played since 2021, and he played in 2025 for Seattle. He's now playing their minor league Seattle Tacoma, or for Tacoma, the Tacoma Rainiers. I was just surprised to see Jesse Hahn still in there. Again, random side tangent, but that is what it is. I mean, still, Mariners rotation, really, really good. I think they should have maybe given up one or two pieces just for some more bats, maybe for another infielder, something like that, especially back when JP Crawford was struggling, but not much you can do about that now. Andres Munoz has been flawless this year as their closer, 0 ERA. And they're 13-5 in the AL West with a series against Houston coming up, a very important one against the second place Astros. They want to create space between them, the Astros, and the Rangers. That is a close division. I mean, even the A's are only like 6 games back, something like that. And the Angels have a decent winning streak too. I think this division will come down to the last day, and I think at least 3 teams will be within 5 games of each other, if not 2 games of each other. Next, we have the San Francisco Giants. They're 29-20, and everyone was talking about the Dodgers. Everybody's talking about the Diamondbacks and the Padres, how they're going to be competing for that division. Nobody was talking about those San Francisco Giants, and when nobody's talking about those San Francisco Giants, that is when they like to strike. Matt Chapman, Jung Ho Lee, and Heliot Ramos have all been fantastic this year. Heliot Ramos especially has been a guy exceeding expectations. Matt Chapman, we expect this from him. We expect that great defensive glove. Lee finally is coming into his own in the MLB. He's having a great year. Logan Webb and Robbie Ray continue to make for a consistent 1-2 punch in that rotation. And Duvall and Tyler Rogers. I always mix up the Rogers brothers. Tyler Rogers is the one on the Giants. Has been really good out of the bullpen. It's another magical run. So far, they're only 4-5 in the NL West, and they won't see the Dodgers until June, which is just kind of crazy. I think it's like the end of June that we finally get that famous Dodger-Giant rivalry. But they can take games from teams. They can take 3 from Arizona. They can take 3 from San Diego. Heck, they can take 2, 3 from the Dodgers. Anything is possible with the Giants. They always manage to find a way. Like I said before, when you are not thinking about the Giants, that is when the Giants strike. So we'll see how it goes. I think they could take a deep run in 2025 in the postseason. Next, we have the Chicago Cubs at 29-20. Multiple wins by a lot this year. They have a couple blowouts this year. They blew out the Yankees like 9-1, I believe, earlier this year. Doing better than Milwaukee early. I was not expecting that. But I had Milwaukee winning that division. I had the Cubs finishing second or third. But so far, the Cubs have been exceeding expectations, my expectations. Kyle Tucker has been proven to be really worth the money. Dansby Swanson having a good year, bounce back year. Nico Horner as well. But yeah, most importantly, Kyle Tucker. He's the guy you really want to do well. Imanaga and Matthew Boyd have been picking up the slack for an injured Justin Steele. Shota Imanaga has been really, really good. Again, he was a potential Cy Young for me, and he's maintaining that case. It's hard to maintain. The Cardinals are trying to close that gap. The Cardinals have been on a really, really good run recently. They had that, it was 11-game winning streak they had going for a good minute. So it's unlikely that St. Louis will close that gap, but it's hard to maintain for the Cubs. And if the Brewers still play at their pace, the Cardinals do what we expect, and they're just going to slide back down, Cubs will probably win that division. But NL Central is a weird division. Next, we have the Minnesota Twins. It's a crazy competitive AL Central. It's exactly how we expected it. 26-21 this year after an atrocious start. Really good turnaround. I just don't see them being able to pass Detroit. I don't see their very top-heavy lineup being able to pass the more balanced Detroit lineup. We've seen this story before, and we didn't like the ending last year when they just the wheels completely fell off of the Twins. They ended up missing the playoffs, and the Royals and the Tigers made it in over them. Buxton doing well. Byron Buxton doing well with 1.8 WAR, 10 home runs, and 27 RBIs already. Harrison Bader is also doing well with a 1.6 WAR and a 180 batting average. Harrison Bader, not a guy I expected to bounce back, to be honest with you, and I'm happy to see that he's been able to because he's a great defensive outfielder. Now he's showing the offensive prowess as well with a really respectable batting average, really good. Pablo Lopez, Bailey Ober, and their ace, Joe Ryan, are doing phenomenal. I'm really happy to see that my call of that being one of the best rotations in baseball has maintained. I like Joe Ryan a lot. They have a team ERA of 3.80, but Ryan in particular has been playing up to his Cy Young candidacy that I played him up to. 2.42 ERA. He's a 4-2 record, and a 1.72 ERA plus, and he already has 52 innings pitched. So we love to see it for Joe Ryan. I have him in fantasy. Again, I might do a fantasy-based show. I know a lot of people don't do fantasy baseball, but my team offensively has been struggling. I'm in a keeper league, and in the redraft, I didn't do that well. Picked up Christian Yelich. That was the number one that I got. I also had the second worst pick because I finished second place, lost in the championship. So just out of the people that they didn't keep. But yeah, I digress. Chris Paddock has also been solid. He's not someone I expected to be very good this year, but he's been really solid. The big issue is don't fall off. Don't do the same thing you did last year. Don't have the wheels fall off at the end. A lot of that is dependent on people staying healthy. Ober, Ryan, all staying healthy. Buxton, most importantly. I believe I read a stat somewhere that Buxton and Correa have only played like 86 games together or something like that. They both need to stay healthy at the same time. The rotation stays healthy at the same time. They could easily make a run at least to the ALCS potentially. I could see them beating a Houston team. I could see them beating a Seattle team. I could see them beating the Mariners or the Astros, especially the Astros if they get in a wild card somehow, which I hope they don't just for our sake. I'd rather see the Royals or the Twins, a more fun team like that, sneak in. Even the Red Sox are off to a slow start. We might be hearing something about them next week, hanging around 500. But again, we're giving another week for these teams. But yeah, those are my main teams exceeding expectations. I mean, some honorable mentions do go to the St. Louis Cardinals, who had a good win streak going. I just don't think it's sustainable. Shout out Victor Scott. But we'll be talking disappointing next week. We're having a little bit shorter of a show this week. We're going to go move on to our series of the week, and we have two of them. We have two of them this week. The Dodgers and the Mets are the big one. You get to see Juan Soto go play against Shohei Ohtani. I mean, obviously, that is a monumental series. The Mets just came off their series with the New York Yankees, where a lot of people are questioning Juan Soto's effort. I have mixed feelings on that take. And then also we have the Padres and the Braves, another very crucial series coming up this coming week. The Braves are trying to fight for a wild card spot or even a division, just jockeying for place in that really, really tough NL East. And the San Diego Padres are trying to gain ground on the Los Angeles Dodgers. So those are our series of the week. Book it. Make sure to watch them. We got Dodgers and Mets, and we got Padres and Braves. And next we have our power rankings. And coming in at number 5, we have the New York Mets. Like I said, coming off that Subway series, a lot of people questioning Juan Soto, his ability this year, but I still think he's fine. It's the New York fan base. What do you expect? We got the other New York team off that Subway series. We got the New York Yankees still maintaining first place in that AL East. We have the Minnesota Twins, who have been scorching hot, turning around their season. We have Los Angeles Dodgers, who went on a 5-game losing streak, but are starting to turn it around against Arizona after a walk-off win on Tuesday night. Thanks, Max Muncy, walk-off sac fly. And then number one, we have the Detroit Tigers, who are arguably the best team in baseball, playing the best and most balanced baseball out there. With that being said, we're going to do our trivia question. We are going to exit stage right. So last week, what college did Justin Verlander attend? He attended a school not a lot of people think of. He attended Old Dominion. This was one I forgot about. I did know this, but I forgot about it. But yeah, Justin Verlander, Old Dominion alum. Next, this coming week, we have a very easy one. Please get this. It's very, very easy. If you play MLB The Show or you watch baseball in the National League, giving away another hint in any capacity, there you go. What ballpark is famous for having ivy? Not like the Ivy League, like the Columbia and Harvard Ivy League, but the actual plant ivy in the outfield. What ballpark is ivy in the outfield? I think that's a pretty easy one. We'll see who gets it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for tuning in to Dugout Debrief this week, just like every single week. Make sure to tune in to all the other great shows on Boom Broadcasting, from Out of Pocket to Quick Hits to the Gridiron Address, which is probably on a little bit of a hiatus now, Hoops and Helmets as well. We also got Three from Deep with Jason. He's been doing a lot of great content from NHL to the NBA playoffs. We're here in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. Jason's been doing some great coverage in the NBA. That being said, thank you again. See you next week.